Hello, friends, and welcome to episode 1031 of the Juicebox Podcast. Today on the podcast, I'll be speaking with Nichole. She is the mother of two children with type 1 diabetes. The podcast is sponsored today by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service and is 100% online. With BetterHelp, you can tap into a network of over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists and her son has
who can help you with a wide range of issues.
While you're listening,
BetterHelp,
please remember that nothing you hear
/Juicebox. To get started, you just answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy. That way, BetterHelp can match you with the right therapist from their network. And when you use my link,
if you'd like to start with AG1, you can get 5 free
therapy.
You can get, I'll just enunciate a little bit. If you'd like to start with AG1, you can get 5 free travel packs and a year's supply of vitamin D with my link, drinkag1.com/juicebox. And you can get 40% off of your entire order at CozyEarth.com when you use the offer code JUICEBOX at checkout. If you're looking for a community online for diabetes, I do hope you check out Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes, a private Facebook group with 42,000 members. This episode of the Juicebox Podcast is sponsored by Touched by Type 1. touchedbytype1.org, and they're on Facebook and Instagram. These are the 3 places I want you to go. Facebook and Instagram, give them a follow. touchedbytype1.org. Look at what's going on. I believe the Dancing for Diabetes show is back on the calendar and coming up quickly. I'll tell you more about that in the ad, but for now, touchedbytype1.org. BetterHelp.com/juicebox.
I'm Nichole, and I have 2 kids with type 1 diabetes.
Wow, Nichole. That's not something I hear every day. So how old are those kids?
My son is 12 and my daughter is 10.
Son 12, daughter 10, son diagnosed when?
2021.
How about your daughter?
2019.
Look at you. So she was first and she was younger. She was like 6. Okay. And
I picked today's date because it's kind of right in between their diversaries. She was diagnosed February 11th in 2019 and he was diagnosed February 6th in 2021.
It's nice to keep everything in the same month. It's a good idea. For purposes of, when the next year comes around, you don't have to be sad twice. you can just are you sad when the anniversary comes around?
I don't know if I'm sad.
Are you even aware? I'm not even aware of it.
Oh, yeah, I'm aware for sure. Because my birthday is coming up and like they were diagnosed right around my birthday. So it's like.
Oh, your family only does things in February.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Well, no, all the bad stuff comes around my birthday. I really feel like sometimes.
Nichole, you think this is a massive geopolitical situation where everyone's coming after you? Is it possible?
No, not geopolitical. Just
you don't think
family health.
You don't think other governments are involved or anything like that?
No, I don't think so.
Good. I just wanted I wanted to rule out that you weren't crazy. Okay, so
no, I'm not crazy. Well, maybe. I don't know. But it started. So I originally contacted you because of celiac disease.
Right.
They both also have celiac disease.
Yeah. Why not?
Those diagnoses actually came first.
For both of them.
So for both of them.
I see.
Right. They were both diagnosed in early 2018. And my daughter, her endoscopy was confirmed on my birthday, 2018. And then almost exactly 1 year later, she was diagnosed with celiac. So that's why I kind of feel like there's a little black cloud that follows me around on my birthday.
Maybe
and then last year, my son got COVID on my birthday. So
that's not true. Is it really?
That's true. That's totally true.
Nichole, today is your birthday. That should be your theme song. Oh my gosh. We have no reason to dig into this, so we're not going to, but I wonder if you're not like, I don't even mean subconsciously, but I wonder if you're not like, why are you noticing things in February?
Like I'm looking for sicknesses in February.
Is it like a slow month for you? Are you like, do you live on the side of a mountain and you're snowed in and you have more time to think about things? Or is there anything like that going on?
No. I wish I lived on the side of a mountain, but I do not.
Do you really?
No.
No,
I mean, yes, I do. I'd love to live in a mountain. Yeah.
Well, tell me why you think that'd be great.
I don't know. The mountains are great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say
no. I'm not that I want to be like super isolated. No.
I thought you were going to say because my manifesto would be easier to write if people weren't bothering me all the time. I just wanted to double check on the crazy thing.
Oh, gosh. This is going to go really in odd directions, Scott. Like,
you think so?
I have been to Lincoln, Montana. Do you know where Lincoln, Montana is?
I mean,
it's the home of the Unabomber.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you go there to leave flowers or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we're fine then.
No.
Montana is a real place then.
It is. It's beautiful. It's one of my favorite places ever.
I thought it's just where they make like TV shows where we look at it and go, I wish I lived somewhere nicer like that.
Like Yellowstone.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so the celiac comes, wow, your daughter's 5. Is there any of this happening in your family so that it's not like completely out of left field for you, or is this the first time you're ever hearing about autoimmune?
So we have sort of an interesting diagnosis story. It started with my son, actually. My son has Down syndrome.
Okay.
And people with Down syndrome have a higher incidence of celiac disease. So his pediatrician screened him every year, at his annual checkup for celiac. And he turns 7 and bingo, it's, the antibodies are showing up. So once one person in your family is diagnosed, you're all supposed to get tested. Mm-hmm. So then we were all tested after that. And it turns out my daughter had it and my husband had it. So all 3 of them have it. But we would have never known, I don't think, had, my son not been checked regularly. My daughter had it for a long time based on they look at the damage to your small intestines to kind of determine how severe or how long you've had it. And hers was her intestines were really damaged. She had it a while. And she was always small for her age. And I always questioned that and, was just told, oh, it's fine. She's still growing. She's just tiny. She's just, I'm smaller too. And they're like, she's just taking after you. And I'm like, but I wasn't that small when I was her age, But anyway, it turns out she was small because she wasn't getting the nutrients she needed because her intestines were so damaged.
Is that kind of damage repairable?
Yes. Yep. Once you eliminate gluten, the intestines do heal.
I want to jump around a little bit. So Down syndrome, is that in a family thing? I don't know anything about it. Is that something?
That's just a random.
That's a random.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was, probably more likely. I had him when I was 37. So the chances do increase with maternal age.
Do you know that when asked to pick a number between 1 and 100, most frequently people pick the number 37?
I did not know that. No.
Interesting. Has nothing to do with this. Sorry. I was trying to find a way to loop back around to the February thing, and it's not there. So I'm gonna let it go. Okay. So
neither were born in February. So
no. Wait, hold on, wait. Let me. March, April, May, June, July, August. Were they born in November?
My son was born in November. Yep. And
So
my daughter was born in July.
Oh, so you even have sex in February. I see.
Well, there's not much else to do sometimes. I live in Minnesota, so it's really cold and snowy.
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm sure your husband will be thrilled to hear that you had sex with him because default, there was nothing else to do.
He won't be surprised.
He won't be surprised by that. Well, listen, the basement's clean, so I guess we might as well. Oh my gosh. Can I ask a little bit about your son?
Sure.
Shocking. Did you know in utero? What's it do? What's it do to your life? Like,
it was before, some of the more reliable tests, they talked about doing, at that time, to know for sure, it would have been an amniocentesis, which is sort of risky. And, we did have trouble getting pregnant, or I did. So, yeah, no, it wasn't, something that I wanted to do. And by the time they offer you that, it's, I've seen probably 10 ultrasounds of him, and we already, we knew it was a boy, and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Yeah. So you don't know until he's physically in the world.
Right. Correct. Yep.
Can you, I'm so sorry. Can you walk me through that a little bit? Like, what is it shocking? Is it numbing? Like,
sure.
like, yeah. How do you move forward from that?
Slowly, I guess. We had some good support. We got him signed up right away for services through our school district. And, right away, one of his therapists connected us with another family with a child with Down syndrome. And we got involved with the Minnesota Down Syndrome Association right away, which was really, really helpful. Just read books. Yeah, we had some good support and
information, support, community, and patience.
And he was a little baby. He was a sweet, cute little baby. And that's, babies with Down syndrome are just babies.
Yeah, no, I didn't even mean about him. I just meant about, your expectations obviously shift like drastically. And I'm wondering how you pivot along with them.
Yeah, it's been so long ago. Yeah. You just do, my college advisor said, provided some just really good practical advice. You play the cards you're dealt,
And do you think that experience helped you when the celiac came along, when the diabetes came along? Did it make those things not
probably?
I wasn't going to say easier, but I wonder if familiar, like again, with the expectations shifting.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. You don't think about it like that though, huh?
I guess not. I just like, this is our life and we have to deal with it and, make the best of it. Yeah. I don't try to dwell on it and
dissect it, try to figure out what it all means, see how you feel.
What if? You'll go crazy if you do the what ifs,
yeah. No, that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, is that you seem very like peaceful about it. And that some people, like I talk to some people and they're just hair on fire. And I'm trying to figure out what the difference is. And I wonder if it isn't just wiring, if you're just not wired to handle this way versus a different way.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. So, what do people not understand about celiac?
That, there is lots of issues if you're non-compliant or sorry, not diagnosed. My husband probably had it a long time too before he was diagnosed.
Okay.
And, I remember when he said, okay, so the GI doctor tells you, okay, the rest of you all need to go get tested. And so, but you have to go to your regular doctor to get tested. And they didn't even want to test him. They're like, well, you're 6 feet tall and, in super good shape. You don't have it.
Really?
Yeah.
So this.
And he did.
And he did. So this is prevalent through medicine. The you look healthy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, then he did have it, and then they started testing him for a bunch of other stuff because, he had probably had it for a while, and he had low iron, and then he had osteopenia, or he has osteopenia. I don't think you can correct that. So his bones, were getting leached of calcium because he wasn't getting any nutrients from his body. So
wow. So is he taking something to combat that? It's low bone density, right?
yes, not right now. I don't know if he will have to in the future or not. I think the hope is that it doesn't get worse now that he's, gluten-free.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting? And he didn't know his whole life. Like, I mean, he knew something,
Well,
right?
he probably didn't have it his whole life.
Oh.
So, like any autoimmune stuff, you can...
Popped up on him.
Something, triggers it.
Yeah. Did you notice it? Like, were you like, every time we go out to a restaurant, he's in the bathroom? Something like that?
In hindsight, yeah.
Yeah.
In hindsight.
Were you trying to be funny when you said hindsight because your hindquarters are where your butt is? No?
No, I wasn't.
All right, well,
yeah, we have a pizza, like a local pizza place that I always like to go to, and he would always kind of like, every time I go there, I don't feel good, and well, I'm gonna go there. But yeah, I'm sure they use like high gluten flour in their dough. So.
and he going to that place just didn't make. I will tell you that just the simplest thing. I've talked about it on here all the time. Like, right, I've cut all kinds of oils out of my life. Like, I just don't use oil. And the other day, I got it into my head that I was going to make shrimp with like some hot sauce on it. And I was going to pan fry it and everything. And then it just hit me. I was like, Scott, go ahead and make fried shrimp instead. Like, do it like a person. You know what I mean? Like, do what other people do. And then I didn't feel good for 3 days after that. It's like, so
like deep fried shrimp?
Yeah.
Okay.
I breaded it, fried it, then I tossed it in some, hot sauce, and they were so good. Yeah. But it messed up like days of my life after that.
Yeah.
And I did it in peanut oil. So not, not canola or something like that. I tried my hardest. It didn't matter. Like, my body doesn't like it when I eat oil. That's it, so.
Yeah, he has a lot of troubles. Like 30% of celiacs, I think that's the number, still have a lot of GI issues even when they're gluten-free. And that's my husband.
He's one of those people.
He just still doesn't feel good often and has to really be careful. Like, he doesn't eat a lot of really rich foods, like anything with a cream sauce or anything like that.
Not good for him.
Yeah.
And that's something. Okay. Give me, right, I hand you the magic wand, Nichole, and I put in front of you what's the proper way for me to talk about it? Is it Down syndrome? Do I just say Down syndrome? Do I say Downs? What do I do?
It's Down syndrome. It's named after a guy. Yeah.
Okay. So Down syndrome. So I put that up there. I put celiac up there. I put type 1 up there, and you're allowed to zap one of them. I think I know the answer, but which one do you zap first?
Type 1.
Type 1. See, I never know the answer.
You were maybe going to guess Down syndrome, but that's really the easiest of all the things we deal with. But some of the health issues, I suppose, are related to that. But then, my daughter was the first one to get type 1. And she does not have Down syndrome.
So. Right. How do they manage, how are they going along with their diabetes? Do they use shots, pumps, CGMs, no CGMs? What do they do?
They're both on Dexcom with the tandem T-Slums.
Are they using
really well?
Are they using Control IQ?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. When
mid-5 A1Cs in the mid-5s.
Wow, congratulations. Is that made more difficult because of the celiac? Like, aren't a lot of gluten-free foods?
Touched by Type 1 has a wide array of resources and programs for people living with Type 1 diabetes. When you visit touchedbytype1.org, go up to the top of the page where it says programs. There you're going to see all of the terrific things that Touched by Type 1 is doing. And I mean, it's a lot. Type 1 at school, the D-Box program, golfing for diabetes, dancing for diabetes, which is a terrific program. You just click on that to check that out. Bowl for a Cause, their awareness campaigns, and the annual conference that I've spoken at a number of years in a row. It's just amazing. just like Touched by Type 1.
Forever and ever
touchedbytype1.org. Or find them on Facebook and Instagram.
Like
links in the show notes. Links at juiceboxpodcast.com to Touched by Type 1 and the other great sponsors that are supporting the remastering of the Diabetes Pro Tip Series.
It feels like bread
Touched by Type1.org.
And then there are times I just don't even, like, I don't have it for myself. Like, I never have it in the house for myself. But there are times where it's just, like, amazing. I don't know how to, like, do you miss it? Like, do you eat? Like, it just occurred to me, you're the only one in the house that doesn't have a thing, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do you eat along with all of them? All these people who are ruining your life and won't let you go to that pizza place?
Can't eat gluten, and my birthdays are always messed up. Yeah.
Nicole's like, I just want to go to that pizza joint for my birthday. And none of you are going to help me with this. But do you eat along with everybody else?
I do. Yep. For the first couple of years, I even ate the gluten-free bread. We didn't have like any gluten in our house.
Mm-hmm.
After a while, I asked my kids, I'm like, and my husband, is it okay if I just like bring a regular loaf of bread in the house and get regular buns when we have hamburgers for myself? Because the gluten-free pasta is just fine. Mm-hmm. I have no issue with it, but the gluten-free bread is not
what you're looking for. So this is it. There's a safe in the kitchen, and inside of this hermetically sealed safe, there's a loaf of bread for you, and it glows like the briefcase in Pulp Fiction when you open it. Is that right?
I do have a bread box that I keep it separate in.
Nicole, some people are smoking on their back porch so their kids don't know. They're getting high after they send their kids to dinner. You're just like, I just would like a slice of bread every once in a while, please.
I just want a sandwich with good bread. Yeah.
And everybody's okay with that. That's very nice of them. Yeah.
But otherwise, like all our baking is gluten-free. Everything like that is gluten-free.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha. Is it a financial impact? Having to eat gluten-free, is it more expensive to eat gluten-free than it is to not?
It is more expensive, yeah.
Your health insurance doesn't offer to kick in for your food bill, I don't assume? No. How nice of them.
Yeah, like a pack of gluten-free buns, like a 4-pack, it's like $7.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like, I'm so cheap. Don't say stuff like that to me. Oh, you break my heart. A bun is $1.50 is what I just heard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always like, if you go to eat, there's always an upcharge for the gluten-free buns too. So it's sort of a double whammy. Here, you have to pay extra for this crappy bun.
Oh my God. Speaking of
crappy. Speaking of the texture of, I compare the texture to like kitchen sponges.
Oh,
you scrub your dishes with.
Speaking of crappy buns, remember when you said hindsight to tell me that your husband had celiac? That's hilarious. Okay. Diabetes. Your daughter versus your son. Does one of them handle it differently, easier? Was it, or are you just applying ideas to both of them and they're both working?
My son is easier. He just prefers like lower carb foods. He doesn't like crackers. He doesn't like bread. He just wants to eat fruit, vegetables, and meat.
Gotcha.
Like his blood sugars are easier to manage. The trouble with him is he understands that he should be bolusing and pre-bolusing, but he still doesn't care if he doesn't. So Saturday mornings, he'll get up at 6 a.m. and make himself what he calls a snack plate. and it might be a couple of yogurts and, some fruit and whatever. And so we're racing downstairs to make sure he's bolused. But if we don't wake up, which just happened, then he goes high because he doesn't get his insulin in time.
Gotcha. So, does he have any, what's his understanding, I guess, of the insulin needs in the food?
He knows he has diabetes and he knows he needs insulin. And, he knows about going high and low, but he can't, I would not trust him to enter his carbs into his pump. Right. Okay. He does not operate his pump.
I understand. And does he know what it feels like to be low and high? Can he explain that to you?
He doesn't go low super often, but yes. And he will wake up at night. He's had a couple lows and he does wake up and come and say, I'm low, I need a juice.
All right. Now
which my daughter won't. She just sleeps through the beeping.
Just sleeps through it. All right. Now I'm going to ask what I think might be a difficult question. Do you have different goals for your daughter than your son based on their long-term health and what their abilities are right now?
No.
No, you don't.
No.
So then how do you see it progressing when he gets older?
Yeah, I hope that there's someone to help him. And, I've talked, in his IEP at school, his individual education plan, that, I want him to be able to understand numbers to the extent that he could, dose himself at some point. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that'll happen or not, but yeah, I mean, that's, there's a lot of unknowns in the future, and I have to plan as much as I can, but, at this point, I don't know. I can't plan, until we know where he's going to be at as an adult and who's going to be around him. But I'm hoping he'll have some people around him to care about him and help take care of his type 1.
So this is a one day at a time is the way you handle this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you're not sure yet of his abilities in the future, so you can't plan for the future.
Yeah. And what technology, how different is the technology going to be 10 years from now?
Yeah. I guess even just a pump that would sometimes they talk about one day the algorithms might work so well and the insulin might work so well that you won't need to bolus. You'll just eat and your body will have a reaction and the pump will be able to meet it. Even that would be huge for him. I mean, it'd be huge for everybody, but especially for him. How about changing his gear? How does he handle any of, is that something he can do on his own? Change his infusion sets or is
No. Neither one of them do that yet on their own.
Okay. Do you have just a big party in the kitchen when it happens and everybody
not a party.
It's not a party? Is it a moment fraught with yelling and running around?
It's getting better. For the first, I don't know, year or so, it was, the infusion sets have never been a big deal. The Dexcom, he struggles with the Dexcom getting that inserted, but he's getting better.
Gotcha. Getting accustomed to it. Are you okay?
I'm okay.
You are? Yeah. I can't, so I don't know you, but you have a slower way of speaking and you're not modulating your voice much. And I'm not sure if you're okay or this is just your personality. So I wanted to find out if you were all right or not.
No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Fine.
Do you work?
I do. Yep, I do.
Wow. Okay. So you have a full-time out of the house job?
Yes, I do.
You should get a podcast. It's much better. I said that to somebody in my family the other day. They were complaining about something. I was like, you ought to get a podcast. And he's like, fuck you. And I was like, oh, okay, sorry. But
no, I have a really great job, and my job is where I don't have to think about all this stuff usually. I mean, other than kind of keep an eye on blood sugars on the app. But.
Yeah, that's a skill, and I think a lot of people who have chronic conditions in their life, something that requires something every day, and tomorrow's not going to be different than today, right? To be able to go somewhere and to leave it out of your mind for a while is such a benefit.
Yes,
it is
for sure.
Yeah, and you realize that it happens without diabetes, or, like your kids get older and they go off and you realize like right now something might be happening that if they were here, you'd help with, or that they would need your help with, and they're still alive the next day. You know what I mean? You're like, okay, like I don't have to be involved in every little thing, and people are still okay. It's a big thing to give yourself over to. And so you get to do that. You get to go to work and just be somewhere else for a little while. And you don't worry?
Yeah.
You don't worry? Or you do?
For sure I worry. Like, your questions about the future, of course I worry about that. But, I mean, if I sat and worried about that all day, every day, I would go nuts. You just have to, prepare I have to prepare my son as best I can. And then, I'm hoping that there'll be people around him that will care about him. And
what do you mean when you say that? You've used that phrase a couple of times. What do you mean when you say that? People around him? Just
caregivers, just a family caregivers, just people that care about him.
Yeah.
In his life.
Is that a thing? Here's the question. Because of Down syndrome, does he get to stay on your health insurance forever, or does he get kicked off when he's 26 like everybody else?
Yeah, I don't think he gets to stay on my health insurance forever. No, I think he gets kicked off and will be on whatever they go on, like Social Security and medical assistance. I'm not sure.
Okay. Yeah. Something frozen for sure in Minnesota. Seriously. Have you ever considered moving somewhere warm?
No, not really, I guess.
Oh my God. If I went to Minnesota, the only thing I'd be able to think of is getting out of Minnesota just because of the cold, for no other reason. I hear it's a lovely place. But the cold, is it just, I can feel it now as we're talking about it. I feel
it hasn't been so bad this winter. It's actually been a pretty mild winter. We've had a lot of snow, but the temperatures have not been too bad.
Isn't that interesting? Here as well, by the way. There's been 2 really cold days so far. That's it. And they were concurrent. And then it was just over. It's, I'm assuming that the global warming thing is real. Okay. So your husband, that was in my head earlier. Is he have like does your husband have like the basic like guy attitude? Is he like, it's fine, we're all good? And, or is he like right in the fight with you, helping with all this? How much is he involved with this stuff?
He's involved in helping. He doesn't do as much of the like adjustments to basal rates and correction factors, but he does all of the ordering and, keeping up with that. I would say he does a lot of probably more of the set changes than I do.
Is that on purpose, or is it just how it shakes out?
It's just how it shakes out, I guess.
What would you, it's interesting, isn't it? Like,
he doesn't listen to your podcast.
What a son of a bitch. I didn't realize that.
Well, okay. He doesn't listen. Sometimes he listens when we're in the car together. And that's what made me contact you.
Oh, tell me.
It was the Eat the Damn Cupcake episode, and we were in the car together listening, and it was just making him mad.
Oh.
And he's like, you have to contact him. You have to. And I'm like, whatever. But then it came up in another episode.
Yeah,
I can't remember.
We revisited it and talked about. I actually had somebody come on to yell at me, and so they took care of what he was.
So anyway, that's why I reached out, because we had listened to that together. And
okay. Well, hey, here we are. So now we have to explain it, Nichole. Now I get to be shamed again. All right, contextually, gentleman's on the show talking about a newly diagnosed child.
Yep.
It's if I'm not mistaken, it's his second child with diabetes, and he's feeling overwhelmed at the fact that the losses that he imagines coming this child's way, and he gets very stuck on the idea of like, well, now they have they have the celiac diagnosis to fight with as well. And what if they want a cupcake at a birthday party? And he was having, would you agree with me? He was having an emotional crisis while he was talking about it. Is that fair?
I don't
See, you don't even remember. That's your husband that was pissed. So Josh has been a great guest on the show a couple of times. And I think this episode was Josh has even more feels or something like that. And he's really upset. Like he is upset. And I asked him something about like, well, what happens? Like he kept saying cupcake, like it was like some important part of his life. And I said, well, what happens when when the kid eats the cupcake, and he says, "Oh, nothing." My son.
Yeah, he was a silent celiac.
Yeah, no symptoms of celiac at all. And I said, "Well, why don't you just I'm like, well, are there cupcakes constantly? Like, are they just like falling out of the sky, and we're always faced with eating a cupcake or not eating a cupcake?" And the answer was no. Like, I'm just worried about like once in a while at a birthday party. And I said, well, until you can figure this out, why don't you just let him have the cupcake? And I was saying that, if I'm being honest, I wasn't thinking about the celiac. I was thinking about the mental wellness of the man I was speaking to. You know what I mean? And boy, did people not like that. Jeez, I got a lot of email about that. And so, silent celiac, can you give me some context for that?
They don't have any outward reaction, but their intestines are still getting damaged.
Right. And it can lead to things up to and as serious as cancer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, those were the emails.
Low iron and osteopenia. And, like if you're a woman, fertility issues.
All of these things could be happening. So you could have celiac and yet not get any of the cramping or the bathroom visiting or any of the other stuff that comes along with it, not feeling well after you go to the pizza joint. Like, none of that could happen. You could just absolutely have no trouble at all, but still be experiencing the internal damage.
Yeah, or maybe the symptoms are just subtle enough that, you don't like my husband, like before he was diagnosed, he just didn't realize it.
Right.
So, and some of the symptoms, my husband used to have a lot of migraine headaches. And once he went gluten-free, he doesn't have near the number of headaches that he used to have.
Right. So anyway, not great advice, but like I said, in that moment, if you go back and listen to it, I think you'll have context for it. But I was just trying to say to the guy, like, well, listen, like, you're killing yourself here over this idea that there are going to be an endless parade of birthday parties that include cupcakes that your child's not going to have involvement with. And anyway.
And I think, from his perspective, and, nobody takes it seriously. And it was just another add-on to that.
Yep. No, I understand. I really do. I've had a number of conversations about it since then. And trust me, I completely understand. I'll never say that again. That's for sure. So
what, that's the difference. Like T1, everybody like, oh yeah, that's serious. We got to take this really seriously, and celiac is not that way.
Yeah.
You're almost treated like you're crazy. Like, oh, whatever.
Or because I'm assuming that if a person's on the outside of it and doesn't understand it, and I even did it, like you can joke about it. Like, oh, what happens? You eat that and you have to go to the bathroom? Like, that sounds like not a big deal to somebody who doesn't understand what a big deal it is. And, I can get that. You're also making me wonder if Scrooge didn't have celiac. Right?
And I was feeling so guilty in that year between, the 2 years, I guess, between my daughter and my son's diagnosis, because I thought my daughter developed type 1 because she had untreated celiac for so long, undiagnosed celiac for so long.
Oh gosh. Is there any chance that's not true though, right?
I'm not sure. I'm still not sure. But then, my son got it, and my son only went a year or less than a year with having celiac and not being diagnosed. And he still got type 1, because he was screened every year at his checkup. So, we know he didn't have it when he was 6, but by the time he was 7, he tested positive, and then his endoscopy showed still pretty mild damage. It was really patchy. Mm-hmm. So he had not had it very long when he was diagnosed.
I see. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to speak to that. All I can say is that, they say once you have an autoimmune issue, you're, it's not crazy if you end up with another one.
Yeah. Yeah, my husband, so you always ask, who in the family. My husband is the one, and he has multiple autoimmune issues.
Your husband does?
Yes. Yep. He has psoriatic arthritis and celiac and vitiligo.
Mm-hmm. How does the arthritis impact him?
You should ask him, because I feel like his interpretation or his view on it would be different than mine. It's not super severe for him yet.
Mm-hmm.
he's not on any medications for it or anything. But of course, when he has a flare of it, he feels pretty poorly, I guess.
Throughout his body, joints, certain places?
No, psoriatic kind of affects one spot. Like it'll be one finger will swell up and get all sore and stiff. And then that'll go away and it can pop up in another finger, a few months later. It's just
interesting. It sucks.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I thought for sure you were going to say when it pops up, he can only have sex in February. I thought that was going to be. Really thought that's where you were going to go for me, Nichole, but you didn't. It's okay. Don't worry. The pressure's not on you. Did you get the Scrooge reference?
He was crabby. I don't know.
No, remember he says to Marley that you might be an undigested bit of beef, and he starts talking about how he doesn't think that the ghost is really there, but it's something that he ate.
I don't know. Yeah, no, I
I'm
didn't
just
get
saying,
it.
maybe the Christmas Carol never happens without celiac is all I'm getting at. I mean, it's a stretch, but maybe. Those people were British, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, exactly. You think so. They spoke funny in the movie.
I obviously haven't seen the movie.
You've never seen a movie? Oh, you don't know?
Well, I don't know if I don't recall.
Now you're making me wonder what everyone's favorite version of a Christmas Carol movie is. Apparently you don't have a dog in this fight.
Don't.
So I'm not going to be asking you.
Nope.
You're like, I don't even care.
My favorite Christmas movie is Elf. So.
Oh, is it with the guy with the head? Why do I think of him as having a big head? Isn't that funny?
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Thank you. It's like the guy with the head. What a description, Nichole. I can't believe you didn't get it. Oh my gosh.
Also an interesting movie, like relative to diabetes, right? He's eating candy and syrup on spaghetti.
Yes. Yeah, that definitely would be hard to bolus for, syrup on spaghetti. I'm not sure where I would start with that, but I think there'd be an extended bolus in there for probably at least 5 hours, at the very least. So you like the podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And my daughter listens too sometimes.
Oh, that's lovely. Thank you. What did you, because you earlier I asked you a question, like what helps you get through? You said information, support, community, and patience. Did the podcast offer any of that for you?
Yes, for sure. Just that you've had many people on that have had multiple issues, or, I know you've had other parents of kids that have Down syndrome on or other issues. And yeah, it's helpful to know that there's other folks out there. But mostly I would say the management information has been what has been really, really helpful.
Oh, I'm glad. That's excellent. Down syndrome or trisomy?
Trisomy 21.
Trisomy of chromosome 21, the most common genetic disorder associated with autoimmune. Is Down syndrome autoimmune?
No,
but
it's just a random, error when your gametes are being formed.
Yeah, the rest of it says autoimmune regulator protein.
I think they can be, they can have more autoimmune issues.
After this is your reality.
Yeah.
The transcription factor located on chromosome 20 plays a crucial role in autoimmunity by regulating promiscuous gene expression, PGE. That's interesting. Strange. Why did you want to come on? Was it just the cupcake thing? Or was there more?
Probably for my daughter too.
Yeah.
Just because I think I knew that she would probably like that.
I would say hi to her, but I don't know her name, and I don't think you want to say it. But I'll just say hi anyway. Hey, daughter, what's up? See? It's very, very feeling and emotional for me. It's interesting that you can't really talk to somebody without knowing their name, huh?
Well, I can say her name. It's Lila.
Oh, I didn't know we were doing that. Lila?
Yeah.
Lila?
I'm not saying her last name.
So. No. Also, I need her address and what locker number she has at her middle school, please. No, Lila, it's hi, how are you? Thank you for listening to the show with your mom. Do you think she learns from it? Like, do you think she picks stuff up about diabetes from listening to people talk about it?
I try to remind her she really does not want a pre-bolus. She has so much trouble. So she's a snacker, right? She would She never wants to eat a big meal. She just wants to snack all day long. And she doesn't want a pre-bolus. And I always say, well, you know, what we've learned on the podcast, it's so important. I don't know. You know, she's 10.
Yeah. I know that sucks. Really, Lila. I'm talking right to you now. I know it sucks. Well, I mean, if she's constantly snacking, though, what if she just, I don't know, what if she made a little bolus and then ate to the insulin once in a while? See what I'm saying?
Yeah, she does that, I think, sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, you know, over boluses for what she's maybe going to eat and then just keeps eating more. You know, she gets upset, you know, when we say you can't just eat chips. You know, you can't just walk by and grab a handful of chips every 10 minutes. You got a bolus for those. You don't know what it's like. And I'm like, yeah, I know. But this is the way it is for you.
Do you think so this is interesting because I've been told I don't know what it's like. I'm sure we all have. I mean, I know you don't have diabetes, but functionally you understand what she's concerned about. But there's that one piece of it, the upsetting piece of like, you don't understand like what it's like to be inside of my body and my mind when this happens. And that's, it's hard, right? Not to be able to commiserate with them.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Because you want to be in it with them and they're not wrong. Like this is the cutting point, right? This is the edge where we move on from what you can understand to what I can't explain to you.
And I've told her how many times, you know, if I could take this away from you, I would. If I could take this from you and give it to myself, I would. But we can't do that, obviously.
Yeah. You know, I had an adult with type 1 tell me not to say that to people recently. Because I think we've all made that statement to somebody in our life. Like, you know, I would take it if I could. But I forget how they put it. I don't know. She was just really passionate about it. Now I'm not remembering the details of her passion, but that she just said, I wish my parents would not have said that to me. I was like, okay, thank you. It's interesting to hear. I'll have to figure out where it's at and tell you. And by that, I mean, I'll have to ask some of the people who helped me with the Facebook group where that happened, because I never know where anything's in the podcast. But there are people who do know. And it's because I don't know. I forget what she said. If it wasn't something like, well, you can't take it, so stop saying that. It's an empty gesture, I think was the was the idea.
I can get that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I will definitely not tell Josh to just give his kid a cupcake. Tell your husband he handled that pretty well. Is that why he doesn't listen? Did he listen before that?
No. Well, just like when we're in the car together.
Yeah. But it's not like he heard that and he's like, that's enough of this. And that was the end of it.
No.
Gotcha. Is he busy ice fishing? Is that what's going on?
We do ice fish when we have time. But my daughter's in hockey, which is kind of a big deal in Minnesota. So we don't really have time anymore to go ice fishing.
Can't you do it at the same time? Why would the hockey people not set up on the sidelines a place to ice fish?
We have done that. The trouble is there's a lot of snow on the lakes usually, so
they don't play hockey on the lakes.
Well, if you maintain a rink on a lake, you can, but it's easier to do it inside.
Mm-hmm. I was joking about all those things, and they all turned out to be real things that you do in Minnesota.
Yep.
I was like, let me say the most ridiculous thing I can think of. What if you cut holes next to the hockey rink so you can ice fish while your kids were playing hockey? And you're like, yeah, we've done that.
We have some really great video of, we hooked our dog up to a harness. So we have dog harnesses for like skiing behind dogs and stuff.
Of course.
We hooked the dog up to my daughter on her ice skates, and it was a winter where there wasn't a lot of snow, and the dog was pulling her around on the ice. It was kind of funny.
You have video of that? I'd like to see that.
I do somewhere.
Yeah. Actually, don't send me your personal video. I don't want to be involved, but I would like to see it if it was on social media somewhere. You know, LeBron James, he just surpassed the scoring title, right? He just beat Kareem Abdul-Jabbar at NBA scoring. You don't have to care about basketball to like this or to hear this story. And there's a photo of him taking his last shot, and everyone in the crowd is holding up a cell phone. And someone put up a photo of Michael Jordan taking his shot where he beat some record, and there's not one person in the crowd holding a phone. It's very interesting. it's just interesting how like having a phone in your pocket has changed her. Like you were like, oh, I did this once with my dog, or my daughter did this, and I'm like, do you have a video? And you're like, yeah, I have one. It's
for sure.
Yeah, it's super interesting. Hey everybody, BetterHelp is a sponsor of the podcast, and they're offering my listeners 10% off their first month of therapy. It's a great deal. I hope you can check it out. BetterHelp.com/Juicebox. Now, BetterHelp is the world's largest therapy service that is 100% online. They have over 25,000 licensed and experienced therapists. They can help you with a wide range of issues. All you have to do to get started is hit my link, answer a few questions about your needs and preferences in therapy, and that way BetterHelp will be able to match you with the right therapist from their network. BetterHelp.com/Juicebox. You're going to get the same professionalism and quality as you expect from in-office therapy. And if for any reason your therapist isn't right for you, you can switch to a new one at no additional charge. Do therapy on your terms. Text, chat, phone, video call, and you can even message your therapist at any time and then schedule a live session when it's more convenient. So if you're looking for someone to talk to, check out BetterHelp. Is there anything that we haven't talked about that we should?
Just that celiac is really socially, or it can be really socially isolating. And that's, again, probably why that statement maybe triggered my husband a little bit.
Oh, no, I understand.
Just eat the cupcake, because that's why, when you ask me if there's one thing to take away, I'd say type 1, because that has, obviously more acute health consequences. And, celiac, you don't even have to treat it with a drug. You just don't eat gluten. So pretty easy. But our society still just is so involved with food and going out to eat and, food rewards in school. Mm-hmm. That's been really difficult for my daughter, especially, to handle.
Okay.
She has a 504 plan, and her teachers have been really, really good about, checking with me usually, but there's always the time like, oh, we're going to have treats today. And, they forget to let me know or let her know. And she doesn't have anything to eat,
Mm-hmm.
with everybody else. Or the hockey team is like going out to eat after the game, and, they pick a restaurant that doesn't have good options for her. So,
you just made me think of something. So in your home, all the foods that are available to your daughter are gluten-free.
Yep.
And maybe the snacking is like her way of being like, look, I can do whatever I want. Like control, like I can, like chips don't have gluten in them. I can grab a chip and have it right now because it's gluten-free and it's fine. And when I'm out in the regular world, I can't eat like that. But then the diabetes comes along and stops that autonomy that she has in your house. I wonder if there's not a connection in there for why she feels that way. Because then the diabetes, the pre-bolusing got in the way of the thing where she got to feel like I can do whatever I want to do. Maybe that's why it bothers her extra. That make any sense, or did I make that up?
No, I think it does make sense. So she has a therapist, and I have mentioned that to her therapist. I'm like, she wants control of something, because there's so much in her life she doesn't have control over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's just as you were explaining how that's how celiac can be difficult in the world. Like I started thinking like, oh, maybe that's why she's like rubs up against the pre-bolusing so much. So she battles anyone telling her, well, her dad and I more so than others, but telling her what to do. Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure it's a control thing. Like she just is wanting control over something.
Personality wise, is she more like you or your husband?
Oh man. He would say me. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's a mix, obviously, but she probably gets her stubbornness from me.
You don't come across as stubborn.
Well, this is a 1 hour online conversation.
I think if we settled in and really had a conversation about 3 hours from now, I'd be like, oh my God, Nicole's a problem.
Well, headstrong, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That serves people well in life.
Oh no, it's not a problem for you. I'm just talking about for me. If I'm trying to get somewhere and you're like pushing back constantly, and I'm like, oh God, this is an uphill. I interviewed someone the other day, and I said to them, like 20 minutes into this, I'm like, you're not going to make this easy at all, are you? And she laughed, and she's like, probably not, which I think is terrific. Like, I don't mean to say that. Like, I don't see headstrong or any of that phrasing as a bad connotation. Like, I think it's great when people stick up for each other and for themselves. I had a meeting yesterday with my mom's care team where I got on the call, and my wife's like, don't yell. And I was like, I am not going to yell. And she goes, you're definitely going to yell. Don't yell. And I was like, all right, I won't. So I got on the call. And my brother's there in person, and I'm like, hey, what's going on? Like, how come it hasn't started yet? And he says, oh, this person's late and this person's late. So two entities that are in my mom's life that have failed her a number of times because of poor management and just generally seeming inept couldn't get to the meeting on time. They were in a completely different part of the building. And I thought, okay, I'm going to let that go. Right, Nichole, I'm going to let that go. Anybody could get the wrong room. It's fine. This isn't just because they're bad at everything. And they came into the room, and the first little bit that we talked about went very smoothly. And then someone said something stupid that was just going to lead back to the problem we were there to talk about. And all I know is that like 15 minutes later, I found myself like cursing and then it all ended. And everybody left. My brother called me back and he goes, wow, good job. We got everything we needed. And I was like, I'm sorry. Was it uncomfortable? Because imagine, Nichole, you said you're an introvert, but did you say that before we got on the microphone, maybe?
Yeah. Well, I said it when you asked me to turn my...
the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, the camera.
So just, I brought it up for context. Can you imagine being in a room with 6 people you don't know while a disembodied voice is yelling at them and they're looking at you? How would you like that? Yeah,
I don't think I would like that.
So I said to my brother, I'm like, I'm so sorry. He's like, no. He's like, we worked it all. He's like, you got everything mom needed. And I was like, okay. But I don't see that as like a bad thing. Like, from my perspective, this is coming back to what I said earlier. Like, I didn't leave that call thinking, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I think that's exactly what needed to happen. And everything worked out in a way that it wasn't going to. They were going to screw my mom 6 ways from Sunday if somebody didn't stick up for her. But I don't imagine that they got in their car and felt good about the interaction. So I don't see being headstrong as being a bad thing. But anyway, I'm sorry. I just felt like I came off wrong when I said that, because I don't see that as a bad thing. I would be so worried that people might hear anything that they'd think like, oh, sure, when women stick up for themselves, nobody likes it. I love it. I had such a good time fighting with that lady that I was talking about. And then later in the afternoon, my brother called me back and he's like, are you okay? He's checking on me. And I said, Brian, never tell anyone this. Now I'm telling everybody. I said, I had such a good time. I loved it. It's the most fun I've had in weeks. I love arguing with people, Nichole. Anyway, is your husband?
It helps to have a stronger personality or advocacy tendencies when you have, the kids that I have.
Yeah. And you have that, right? So like even though like you don't know that you're coming off meek, but it's just your speech pattern and you're like I said, you're not modulating your voice a ton, but you're not in your personal life. You're out there fighting with those people, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Gotcha.
And not fighting. I mean, working with, we've been really fortunate to have some really good, like the school nurses we've dealt with have just been fantastic. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we had to change schools for our kids this past year because there was just a situation we could not work out at our previous school. Mm-hmm. So I guess my point is I try to work with people, but at some point there's a time to cut ties and move on.
Yeah. That's about the time I start yelling fuck at them. I was so calm until I wasn't. They were like, let's put a care plan into place. I'm like, the care plan is what put her in the situation. And you're telling me that the fix for the care plan that wasn't carried out by the staff is to put a different care plan in place and then remind the staff to take care of the care plan? I was like, that's your idea of how to make sure this doesn't happen again? Just to bullshit me in this room? Like, because nobody's going to do that. Like, it just, I don't know. Like, I don't see everything in life like that, but about these very important issues, in my mind, it's a turf war. Like, you're on one side of that line, I'm on the other side of the line, and I am trying to push you back and get you to do what I need you to do. And in my mind, they're trying to do it too. They're just trying to be nicer about it because they work for somebody. And they're trying to be professional while they're doing it. And I don't have that problem. So I can't get fired after the conversation ends. So I got to, and I don't want to come off like I was happy to speak like pleasantly with them. I think people listening would imagine that. But as soon as it started down that like pandering, just bullshit path that it was heading down, they were just going to say the same thing again and try to get me to go along with it. And like, that's not happening. I was like, you guys almost killed my mom. And now I should just assume, I should just trust you won't do it again. I'm not doing that. I was like, this is what you're doing. You're doing this. And I laid it out for them. Like, these are the things you're going to do. If they don't get done, we're going to have a real problem.
Medical care, or is she in a nursing home? And I'm only asking because my mom just went in a nursing home a couple of months ago.
So my mom's in a place, I don't know if you would call it a nursing home, but they help her. So she's got her own apartment. My mom's very autonomous. She needs a little help making sure she's stable in the shower and a little help cleaning up after she uses the bathroom. Right? Those are like her sticking points. And then they just don't do it. And they said, well, it's not in the care plan, or it's this, and then she got sick. And as her health was declining, they all noted that her health was declining, but never did anything about it or contacted anyone. And so what ended up happening was, this is very common for older people. My mom apparently had a UTI. She was declining. And my brother happened to be on a shift where he was working nights, so we couldn't see her for a few days in a row. And I was sitting here editing one Sunday night, and it just struck me. Like, I didn't talk to mom in the last 2 days. That's weird. That shouldn't have happened. And like, I always talk to my mom. She calls me and I call her, but all of a sudden I realized I'd been busy and I hadn't spoken to her. So I texted my other brother, not the one who lives where she is. And I said, you heard from mom the last couple of days? He said no. So I contacted Brian where my mom lives, and I said, something's wrong with mom. And he's like, I guess he initially thought that I knew there was something like specific. He's like, what? Like, what's wrong? And I'm like, I don't know. Something's wrong. I haven't heard from her in 2 days. And he was like, that's why you think something's wrong with mom? I'm like, there's definitely something wrong. And he's like, all right, well, I work tonight and I'll get over there tomorrow and see her and blah, blah, blah. And that morning I got a text from his wife that said, hey, your mom fell out of bed. And that didn't seem right either. So it's like, wait, what? And she's like, we're going over. We'll be there in a couple of hours. And by the time they got there, my mom was almost catatonic, like just gone. Like, she couldn't stay awake for 5 seconds. My brother and I were talking. I'm like, just take her right to the emergency room. Like, don't talk to those people there. Just put her in your car, drive her to the emergency room. And we got her there. He got her there. And she's got a UTI. They have to hit her with a big dose of antibiotics. And then she seems like and they hydrate her. And a few hours later, she's like, I'm FaceTiming with her and she's good to go. And then she wakes up the next day and it's slurred speech, no memory, like really bad. And it goes on for days to the point where they're giving her like scans and telling us she might not recover from this. Like, she sounds like she's going to die. Like, I've never seen anybody slip away so quickly, to the point where I had to call my kids and say, you need to reach out to grandmom because I'm not sure if she's okay or how long she's going to be okay. I don't know, about 5 days into her hospital stay, she just came back to life. It was, I guess the infection finally got through her and everything. So I got on the phone yesterday and I said, well, you guys tried to kill my mom. You didn't quite get it done. let's make sure it doesn't happen again. She was perfectly healthy when she got to you. And 2 months later, not only are we in the hospital, but I had to figure it out like remotely, or my brother wouldn't have been able to go to see her. I think it's possible they could have just killed her right there because they were not paying attention to her. She slid out of her bed, crawled across the room, called for help, and they just got her back in bed and said she seemed tired. That was it. They didn't know what they're doing. So there's 3 levels of staff. There's on the floor staff, which is described to me as younger people who don't seem like they have a ton of training. And I understand it's probably not a great paying job, and I don't assume it's a job anybody really wants. I get that. So then there's the overseeing above them, which apparently isn't making sure that things are really getting done, and the overseeing above that person that's, everybody's just checkboxing. So I'm on the phone. I'm like, listen, my mom's not a cleaning schedule in the bathroom of a gas station. You don't just walk in every hour, rub the mop on the floor and check the box off and leave. Like, that's not like I know that's what you're doing, and it needs to stop. I was very demanding, but at the same time, I think this is the state of elder care. My mom's not in some crappy place. You know what I mean? And so I just realized, I was talking to my brother afterwards, and I said, look, we're not going to fix the world here. Like you're not going to make these people suddenly care about their job. You're not going to make them, do what they're supposed to do. I was like, we just have to put the fear of God in them that if they kill that lady, they're going to have a problem. And that's what I think I did yesterday. And hopefully that'll hold up for a while. So you know what I mean? Like you can go ask people all you want, like to do the right thing, but I don't know that you're going to actually get them to do it. So anyway, that was my perspective, and we'll see how it goes. I'll report back.
We're dealing with similar issues with my mom, but she's in a memory care unit. So, I think they are checking on her more often. I don't think that she would go sort of semi-responsive in a bed for very long.
Yeah, without somebody noticing and doing something. Well, it's just fascinating. Yeah. Like my sister-in-law looks back now on the communication she had over the week with the place. And at one point they said, hey, your mom's not been going to dinner. She's been eating in her room a lot, and she didn't want to go to some functions. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, and then she's been sleeping a lot. And then she slid out of bed trying to get up. And so she's declining, and they are just acting like it's not even of note. Like, and my sister-in-law said, I asked how she was. Nobody offered that information. Even after she fell out of bed, they didn't call us. And so, it just hit me. I was like, if we wouldn't have figured that out, she dies there. And they go, oh, you know what they would have done? They would have said, look, we did everything we were supposed to do. Here's all the check boxes. You see them all filled in, and old people get UTIs. What are you going to do? That's exactly what would have happened. And, wow. I was on the phone yelling things like, I think I said at one point, cancer didn't kill that lady. A full hysterectomy didn't kill her. A year of chemotherapy didn't kill her. I was like, this didn't kill her. That didn't kill her. This didn't kill her. She's been alive for 80 years. She's okay. I think I said, Nichole, and you people can't keep her ass clean, and that's what's going to kill her. I was like, that's not how my mom's going out. I was just like, this is ridiculous. I said, the most avoidable problem, and you guys can't avoid it. It's fascinating. So anyway,
it's a conundrum. It's like, you feel like, this is how I feel, I guess, with my mom in those facilities. Like, she's just another one, they come there and they stay there for a while and then they die.
Yeah. There's no way they don't feel like a way station.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's I'm sorry for you. It's so hard to deal with.
No, it's don't worry. I enjoyed yelling at them. So there's a person
I've told my brother that he's the one that lives closer to my mom and locally, and I'm like, I'm sorry that you have to deal with all this, but I have these 2 kids that I'm keeping alive.
Well, we had this similar situation where my mom used to live closer to myself and our youngest brother, and we did a lot of it. My youngest brother actually lived closer to her and did more than I did, for certain. But then my middle brother, who had moved away and lives more near where you do, he's like, I'd love to see mom, more. And there's this great place near my house and everything. And so My mom was actually getting ready to move to Wisconsin when she found out she had cancer. And we used that move to Wisconsin as like a carrot on a stick to get her through everything. Like, Mom, this is what you're working for. You know what I mean? And then my mom beats cancer, lives through chemo, gets a clean bill of health, gets COVID the day she gets her clean bill of health from cancer, has to sit around for 20 more days before she can leave, get her back on her feet, get her out there. And, she lives with my brother for 5 weeks before she can move into the other place. She's doing terrific, moves in there. And 2 months later, we're dragging her to a hospital. She's almost dead. And I was just like, what is all this for? I hate to be that person, but I've now said it a number of times in the podcast. I'm treating the next 15 years of my life like that's it. And I don't mean that I think I'm going to die when I'm 65, but the things that I've seen my mom battle with, if one of those things should happen to me, like, your life's not going to be like retired in Bora Bora. You know what I mean? Like, because I think that's what we all imagine. Like, right now, you're like, that's fine. I'll raise these kids. I'll save some money. And then I'll blah, blah, blah. But unless a health thing comes, and then you're not doing that stuff. So I'm going to do it now. And then at the end, I'll just then I won't feel like I missed out on something. I assume. I'm hoping. I don't know. But anyway, so
well, I feel like I have to live forever. So I do try to take sort of good care of myself, because I do feel like, the longer I am here, the better care Kai will get, my son.
I didn't bring that up, but that's not a real thing. Like, you're out at a mall or in public, and there are adult people with Down syndrome who are accompanied by an 85-year-old mother who is the spryest person I've ever seen in my life. Right. I've always, it's improper to say, but I did once say to somebody, if only my health was as good as the mother of a kid with Down syndrome. I actually said that because they're always it's almost like you're not allowed to get old or sick or die. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We had a really interesting encounter with a family like that a couple of years ago on vacation. We were up on the North Shore, up on Lake Superior, in a really teeny tiny little town, in a coffee shop with literally 8 seats. And we were there grabbing breakfast, and in walks a elderly set of parents and maybe a 40, 50-year-old woman with Down syndrome. And what were the chances of that there'd be this little tiny town, in this little tiny coffee shop, and 2 families.
Well,
so
I'll tell you, I don't know what the odds are of the 2 of you being there at the same time, but the odds of them being that old, and that I believe in. I really do believe in that. I've seen it too many times. I'm sure it doesn't happen for everybody. It's not a magic thing. You don't get to live forever if your kid has Down syndrome, but it's not, it speaks to what real purpose can do for you. And a sense of responsibility, everybody likes to say, I don't want to do this, or I don't like this job or anything, but you have a responsibility. It's a reason to get up. It's a reason to move. It's a reason not to give up when things could get you, It's probably part of why you are the way you are. And, being introverted is hard, but you probably have to push out of it a lot for your kids.
Yeah. And for my job too. So I'm a biologist, and I would tell you that a lot of biologists are introverts. So
it's interesting. I know my wife is. My wife has a biology degree. She's introverted.
Yeah.
But her whole day is talking to people. It's kind of ridiculous how it ended up working out. I know it does exhaust her a lot of times. Pushing through it seems to kick her ass a little bit. Does that happen to you? Do you feel tired at the end of the day, or you might not have any ability to be tired?
Right, exactly.
When do you sleep? While you're driving? My God. All right, Nichole. Well, you were really lovely. I appreciate that you came on here and talked about all this with me. Thank you very much.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
Oh, it was my pleasure. And hi again to your daughter.
And letting me give you grief about the way you handled celiac before.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm assuming every few months somebody's going to say it to me for the rest of my life. And that's fine, because then we get to have the conversation again. And then my misunderstanding turns into education for other people. And I'm good with that. Something has to be the catalyst for the conversation.
But overall, no, thank you for all of the, good advice that I've heard on your podcasts over the years I've been listening now.
Oh, no, it's my pleasure. I appreciate you saying that. And it is nice of you to end on a positive thing for me. It was very nice of you too. All right.
Minnesota nice.
Is that the phrasing? Minnesota nice?
Yes. Yeah. You've never heard that? Oh, you got to Google it. I'm sure there's tons about it.
Is that why you're putting up with that quarterback long after he's proved that he's no good?
Quarterback? He's not a quarterback. Oh, you mean the Vikings?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
See?
I am so not into football, Scott. Sorry.
I could tell you weren't. I just wanted to make a joke about how bad your quarterback was. That's all.
I'm with you. They're bad, I'm sure. I don't follow the Vikings. I'll probably be ostracized now by everybody that knows me.
Maybe they all hate football too, and they're just afraid to say it. I mean, everybody in Wisconsin can't love the Packers. Some of them have to be pretending. Don't you think?
I'm not gonna. I have no idea. I'm not gonna comment.
Nicole's like, I'm not getting involved in something as fraught as a conversation about football. We can talk about anything else if you want, but not that. All right. Hold on 1 second for me, okay?
Okay.
Huge thanks to Nichole for coming on the show and sharing this story with us. I also want to thank Touched by Type 1 and remind you to go to touchedbytype1.org and find them on Instagram and Facebook. Special thanks as well to BetterHelp. BetterHelp.com/juicebox. Use that link to save 10% off your first month of therapy. Don't forget to check out the private Facebook group, Juicebox Podcast, Type 1 Diabetes. Lastly, thank you so much for listening. I'll be back soon with another episode of the Juicebox Podcast. When you support the Juicebox Podcast by clicking on the advertisers' links, you are helping to keep the show free and plentiful. I am certainly not asking you to buy something that you don't want. But if you're going to buy something or use a device from one of the advertisers, getting your purchases set up through my links is incredibly helpful. So if you have the desire or the need, please consider using Juicebox Podcast links to make your purchases.